Welcome to Classes of Mail. Before you listen, you should know that Alan Gigax is not in any sense an official spokesman for the Post Office, the NALC, or anybody else. His opinions are inherently his own and should probably be disregarded. Same for his guests. Any information you hear on this podcast could be wrong and should not be relied upon for any reason. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Classes of Mail. My name is Alan Gigax, and I really want to get through the rest of Article 7 of the JCAM. Remember that is the purpose of Season 6, is to read the JCAM in its entirety, this time without accents and with commentary. And man, Article 7 is long. And if I'm going to get through it, I got to get to it. So enough of this nonsense. Here we go. We pick up where we left off. We had already read Article 7.1 of the JCAM, which covers CCAs. And now we go on to 7.2a. Here we go. Section 2, Employment and Work Assignments. A, normally, work in different crafts, occupational groups, or levels will not be combined into one job. However, to provide maximum full-time employment and provide necessary flexibility, management may establish full-time schedule assignments by including work within different crafts or occupational groups after the following sequential actions have been taken. So by sequential, that means you got to take them in this order. 1, all available work within each separate craft by tour has been combined. So like, let's say you have two routes, you have a route and an auxiliary route, and now they're saying, oh, there's not enough work for a carrier, so you're going to combine that route and the auxiliary route into a route so that you have work for a carrier. All right, and then 2, work of different crafts in the same wage level by tour has been combined. So that would be like, there's also like some clerk work to do, and it's at the same wage, and so you would do that as well. So I guess that's that. I assume this does not come up very often. The appropriate representatives of the affected unions will be informed in advance of the reasons for establishing the combination full-time assignments within different crafts in accordance with this article. Oh, maybe you could also do custodial work. Anyway, combining craft duties to create full-time assignments. Article 7.2.8 permits management to combine duties from different crafts, occupational groups, or pay levels to create full-time duty assignments under limited circumstances. Article 7.2.8.1, under Article 7.2.8.1, management may combine work from different occupational groups or crafts only after it has first combined all available work within each separate craft by tour. Under Article 7.2.8.2, management may combine work from different pay levels only after it has combined the work of different crafts in the same wage level by tour. Boy, I'm off to a rough start here. In either case, management must provide the affected unions with advance notice of the reasons for establishing the combination full-time assignments. Rural carriers excluded. A combined position under Article 7.2.8 may include the work only of the crafts covered by the 1978 National Agreement, i.e., letter carrier, clerk, motor vehicle, maintenance, and mail handler. Rural carriers are excluded. See the discussion below of Article 7.2.b, 7.2.c, and the related Memorandum of Understanding. Here we go. 7.2.b. B. In the event of insufficient work on any particular day or days in a full-time or part-time employee's own scheduled assignment, management may assign this employee to any available work within the same wage level for which the employee is qualified, consistent with the employee's knowledge and experience, in order to maintain the number of work hours of the employee's basic work schedule. So this means that if you're a carrier and your route has undertime, if you only have 6 hours of work today, Management can assign you more work on top of, what you would normally do. But they can't assign you motor vehicle work unless you're qualified as a motor vehicle worker. Generally as a carrier, you're only going to be qualified to do carrier work. And this is one of the reasons why we don't cross-craft. And so management needs to try to find additional carrier work for you. 7.2.c. C. During exceptionally heavy workload periods for one occupational group, employees in an occupational group experiencing a light workload period may be assigned to work in the same wage level commensurate with their capabilities to the heavy workload area for such time as management deems necessary. See memo page 142. So eventually we will get to that memo, but I bet what it doesn't say is that you can just use carriers to throw parcels, work that clerks should be doing, for no good reason. Because it says, like, if there is a light workload period, an occupational group experiencing a light workload period. So in my experience, when I have seen CCAs throwing parcels, it's not because there is a lack of carrier work. That is not what's going on here. So management cannot use this justification for crossing crafts except in these really limited circumstances that you're probably not going to run into. Cross-craft assignments. Article 7, sections 2.b and 2.c set forth two situations in which management may require career employees. Oh, it does specify career employees here. And that's not full-time or part-time employees on scheduled assignment. Well, I mean, dude, all of the JCAM carries the weight of the contract, so it does say career here. Article 7, sections 2.b and 2.c set forth two situations in which management may require career employees to perform work in another craft. This may involve a carrier working in another craft or an employee from another craft performing carrier work. Insufficient work. Under Article 7.2.b, management may require an employee to work in another craft at the same wage level due to insufficient work in his or her own craft. This may affect a full-time employee or a part-time regular employee for whom there is insufficient work on a particular day to maintain his or her weekly schedule as guaranteed under Article 8.1. Oh, I get it now. This refers to full-time carriers or part-time regulars because you have that hours obligation. Like if there's not enough work for a CCA, you just don't bring them in. So that's what's going on here. Okay. Or it may apply to any employee working under the call-in guarantees of Article 8.8. Ah, there we go. I.e. a regular called in on a non-scheduled day or PTF employee called in on any day. And it says any employee working under the call-in guarantees. So presumably that includes CCAs as well. So yeah, we have the application here. This section permits management to avoid having to pay employees for not working, which is reasonable. Exceptional workload imbalance. So right here, right off the bat, it says exceptional workload imbalance. Article 7.2.c provides that under conditions of exceptionally heavy workload in one craft or occupational group and light workload in another, any employee may be assigned to perform other craft work in the same wage level. Limits on management to make cross-craft assignments. A national level arbitration has established that management may not assign employees across craft except in the restrictive circumstances defined in the national agreement. And there's a citation here. This decision is controlling, although it is an APWU arbitration case. It was decided under the joint NALC APWU USPS 1981 National Agreement, and the language of Article 7.2.b and c has not changed since then. Arbitrator Block interpreted Article 7.2.b and c as follows, pages 6 and 7 of the award. This is what he writes. Taken together, these provisions support the inference that management's right to cross craft lines is substantially limited. The exceptions to the requirement of observing the boundaries arise in situations that are not only unusual, but also reasonably unforeseeable. So I'm going to interrupt here to say once again, to me, this is the basis of your grievance. If they make CCAs do clerk work, carriers are supposed to do carrier work. And, something like this where they're having people work outside of their craft should be exceptional. And you can't make the argument that Article 7 doesn't foresee CCAs. The first part of Article 7 is all about CCAs. All right, moving on. There is no reason to find that the parties intended to give management discretion to schedule across craft lines merely to maximize efficient personnel usage. Oh, this is so good. This is not what the parties have bargained. That an assignment across craft lines might enable management to avoid overtime in another group, for example, is not, by itself, a contractually sound reason. It must be shown either that there was, quote, insufficient work, end quote, for the classification, or alternatively, that work was, quote, exceptionally heavy, end quote, in one occupational group and light as well in the other. Dude, management's got no excuse. They can't be using CCAs to throw parcels. It's not okay. Inherent in these two provisions, as indicated above, is the assumption that the qualifying conditions are reasonably unforeseeable or somehow unavoidable. To be sure, management retains the right to schedule tasks to suit its needs on a given day. But the right to do this may not fairly be equated with the opportunity to, in essence, create insufficient work through intentionally inadequate staffing. Dude, man, this all sounds real familiar. To so hold would be to allow management to effectively cross craft lines at will merely by scheduling work so as to create the triggering provisions of subsections B and C. This would be an abuse of the reasonable intent of this language, which exists not to provide means by which the separation of crafts may be routinely ignored, but rather to provide the employer with certain limited flexibility in the fact of pressing circumstances. And thus ends arbitrator Block. Dude, arbitrator Block is correct. That arbitrator has it nailed. All right, remedy for violations. As a general proposition, in those circumstances in which a clear contractual violation is evidenced by the fact that circumstances involving the crossing of crafts pursuant to Article 7.2 point B and C, a make-whole remedy involving the payment at the appropriate rate for the work missed to the available qualified employee who had a contractual right to work would be appropriate. For example, after determining that management had violated Article 7.2 point B, arbitrator Block, in his case, blah, blah, blah citation, ruled that an available special delivery messenger on the overtime desired list should be made whole for missed overtime for special delivery functions performed by a PTF letter carrier. So this is where, like, the idea of crossing crafts, to me, again, this is a clear grievance. The question is, there's obviously a remedy to the APWU. Is there a remedy to the CCA? I seem to remember seeing in the ELM that if somebody does a different job, that they have to get paid at like some high level in that job. Like if they get moved into a different job, that they get paid at the top step for that job, or that was something that I saw about that. So if you remember what that is, feel free to send me an email, classesofmail@gmail.com. I know that's in there somewhere. Or if you've gotten successful remedies for the person who's being made to work outside of their craft, I'd be really curious to hear about that. classesofmail@gmail.com. Moving on, here we have a memo of understanding between the USPS and the NALC regarding Articles 7, 12, and 13, cross-craft and office size. It is understood by the parties that in applying the provisions of Articles 7, 12, and 13 to this agreement, cross-craft assignment of employees on both a temporary and permanent basis shall continue as they were made among the 6 crafts under the 1978 agreement. B. It is also agreed that where this agreement makes reference to offices/facilities/installations with a certain number of employees or work years, that number shall include all categories of bargaining unit employees in the office, facility, installation who were covered by the 1978 National Agreement. Date August 19th, 1995. Rural carriers excluded. Paragraph A of this memorandum provides that the crossing craft provisions of Article 7.2, among other provisions, apply only to the crafts covered by the 1978 National Agreement, i.e. letter carrier, clerk, motor vehicle maintenance, and mail handler. So cross-craft assignments may be made between the carrier craft and these other crafts in either direction in accordance with Article 7.2. However, rural letter carriers are not included. So cross-craft assignments to and from the rural carrier craft may not be made under Article 7.2. They may be made only in emergency situations as explained below. So that's it. There's a firm red line that you will not cross with rural carriers. Under no circumstance can you trade with rural carriers, except in an emergency as explained below. One thing that you might be able to get for that CCA who is improperly made to cross craft is out of schedule pay because they are scheduled for carrier work. I don't know. You might have to make that. I've said enough about it. I'm going to let it go for now. Just leave it at I think it's a grievance. Crossing craft in emergency situations. In addition to its Article 7 rights, management has the right to work carriers across crafts in an emergency situation as defined in Article 3, Management Rights. Article 3.f states that management has the right to take whatever actions may be necessary to carry out its mission in emergency situations, i.e. an unforeseen circumstance or combination of circumstances which calls for immediate action in a situation which is not expected to be of a recurring nature. This provision gives management a very limited right to make cross-craft assignments. Management's desire to avoid additional expenses, such as penalty overtime, does not constitute an emergency. Counting employees or work years. Paragraph B of the memorandum provides that only the crafts covered by the 1978 National Agreement, i.e. letter carrier, clerk, motor vehicle, maintenance, and mail handler, are counted when any agreement provision refers to the number of employees or man years in an office, facility, or installation. In the 1998 National Agreement, the term man year was changed to work year. For example, Article 7.3.a below requires management to maintain at least an 88% full-time carrier craft workforce in installations which have 200 or more work years of employment. See also Article 8.8.c, which provides a calling guarantee of 4 hours of work or pay in a post office or facility with 200 or more work years of employment per year and 2 hours in smaller facilities. 7.3, Section 3, Employee Compliments. This is not like, oh, you look nice in your uniform today. It's so blue. No, this is compliments with an E, COMPLEMENTS, which is like the number of people you have staffed. But don't be shy about giving people a compliment. They do look good in blue. Maximization of full-time employees. Article 7, Section 3 contains the National Agreement's main maximization language, setting forth management's obligation to create full-time regular letter carrier positions. Sections 3.A to 3.D set forth the following requirements. 7.3.A. A. The employer will staff at least one full-time regular city letter carrier per one full-time regular city letter carrier route as defined in Article 41.1.A.1, plus each carrier technician position. However, the employer's obligation shall not exceed a ratio of 1.18 full-time regular city letter carriers per full-time city letter carrier route. As long as part-time flexible employees remain on the rolls, the employer shall staff at postal installations which have 200 or more work years of employment in the regular workforce as of the date of this agreement, with 88% full-time employees in the letter carrier craft. The provisions of Article 7.3.a will be monitored at the national level for compliance as follows. The Postal Service will provide the National Union with a report every other pay period that lists the number of full-time city letter carrier routes defined in Article 41.1.a by category, the number of carrier technician positions, and the total number of full-time city letter carriers. So all of those things will be included in this report. Article 7.3.a, ratio of full-time city... The Article 7.3.a ratio of full-time regular city letter carriers per route is determined based on the number of full-time city letter carrier routes nationwide. And here we have another memo between the Post Office and the NALC regarding full-time regular opportunities, city letter carrier craft. The parties agree to use the following process to facilitate placement of employees into full-time regular opportunities, which include 1. Residual full-time regular city letter carrier duty assignments referenced in Article 7.3.a of the 2023 Collective Bargaining Agreement, and 2. Newly created unassigned full-time regular incumbent-only positions which increase full-time complement and are in addition to the duty assignments referenced in Article 7.3.a. Full-time regular opportunities in the city letter carrier craft covered by this memorandum which are not subject to a proper withholding order pursuant to Article 12 of the collective bargaining agreement. Oh, dude, I remember reading about the withholding. It gets complicated. Good thing we're not there yet. We don't have to worry about it. So anyway, I'm going to read it now without the part about withholding. Full-time regular opportunities in the city letter carrier craft covered by this memorandum that become available on and after the ratification date of the 2023 collective bargaining agreement will be filled as follows. 1. Full-time regular opportunities defined above will be filled within 28 days of becoming available in the following order. A. If the opportunity is a residual vacancy, assignment of an unassigned full-time regular or full-time flexible city letter carrier in the same installation. 2. Conversion to full-time regular status of a part-time flexible city letter carrier in the same installation pursuant to Article 41.2.B.6b of the collective bargaining agreement. Okay, so when there are routes that are left vacant within 28 days, they got to be filled either by somebody who doesn't have an assignment, or they got to be filled by a PTF who finally gets to be full-time regular. 2, full-time regular opportunities that cannot be filled through item 1 above will be filled by part-time flexible city letter carriers who were on the rolls as part-time flexible letter carriers on the ratification date of the 2016 collective bargaining agreement and have an active transfer request pending to the installation where the full-time regular opportunity exists on the date the full-time regular opportunity becomes available. Approval of such requests will be made based on the order the applications from qualified part-time flexible city letter carriers are received. Requests from part-time flexible city letter carriers pursuant to this paragraph will be acted upon without regard to normal transfer considerations. Reassignments and subsequent conversions to full-time regular status under this section will occur as soon as practicable, with consideration given to operational needs in the losing installation. Requests from all other qualified employees may only be considered under item 3 below. Okay, so that's a very limited circumstance where PTFs are trying to transfer. Now we get to 3. Full-time regular opportunities that remain after item 2 will be filled by 1. Conversion of city carrier assistants to full-time regular career status in the same installation as the full-time regular opportunities. It's worth reiterating here the difference between an installation and an office. Your installation is like the whole area that's all covered by, well, that's a good question. I mean, it's called the such and such installation. So here in Las Vegas, we have the Las Vegas installation, which has like 15 offices. Then we have the North Las Vegas installation, which has 2 offices. Henderson has 2. Boulder City has 1. So each of those is its own installation. Moving on. Where did I leave off? In the same, or 2, acceptance and placement of voluntary reassignment transfer requests pending an e-reassign at the time the full-time regular opportunity becomes available from qualified bargaining unit employees, including full and part-time regular city letter carriers, or reassignment of bargaining unit employees within the installation. If there are insufficient transfer/reassignment requests from qualified bargaining unit employees, non-bargaining unit employees may be reassigned to a full-time regular opportunity. Reassignment or transfer requests will be made with normal considerations contained in the Memorandum of Understanding regarding transfers, based on the order the applications are received. The number of career reassignments allowed under this paragraph is limited to 1 in every 4 full-time regular opportunities filled in offices of 100 or more work years, and 1 in every 6 full-time regular opportunities filled in offices of less than 100 work years. At least 3 or 5, as applicable, full-time opportunities will be filled by conversion of city carrier assistants to full-time regular career status based on their relative standing in the same installation as the full-time regular opportunities. Conversion of city carrier assistants to full-time regular career status under this section will take place no later than the first day of the third full pay period after either the date the full-time regular opportunity becomes available, when an employee's request for transfer is declined, or the date the employee rejects the offer. All right, so when you're transferring, you have to get in line behind PTFs who are going to be converted to full-time regular. So you have to get in line behind 3 PTFs or behind 5 PTFs, depending on the size of the office you're trying to go to. So, they get their opportunity first. They put in their time in that installation. 4, conversions to career status in accordance with MOU regarding city carrier assistance, conversion to career status, will count toward the ratios contained in item 3 above. When a full-time regular opportunity becomes available in an installation which has a PTF city letter carrier on the rolls, on the date the opportunity is filled, the opportunity will be filled in accordance with item 1. With item 1. If the opportunity, that's funny. There was a period at the end of that sentence after the 1, and I'm so used to seeing 1 point. So it will be filled in accordance with item 1. If the opportunity could have been filled through the acceptance of a voluntary reassignment under item 3 had no PTF city letter carriers been on the rolls, the opportunity to transfer may be offered to a career bargaining unit employee who had a request pending on the date the opportunity became available. In this instance, employees who accept the opportunity to transfer shall report to the installation as a PTF city letter carrier and shall begin a new period of seniority in the gaining installation. Transfers accepted in accordance with this item shall be counted when determining the ratio in item 3. All right, moving on. So like when you transfer, this is one of the things that this covers, you go to the bottom of the seniority list. General terms. The National Union will be provided a list of unassigned full-time regular opportunities to be filled on a weekly basis. Residual full-time regular city letter carrier duty assignments referenced in Article 7.3.A of the 2023 Collective Bargaining Agreement, unless considered for reversion pursuant to Article 41.1.8.1, are considered available the date the assignment becomes a residual vacancy. Newly created full-time assignments, or newly created full-time unassigned full-time regular positions, which increase full-time complement and are in addition to the duty assignments referenced in Article 7.3.A, are considered available the date the Postal Service notifies the National Union that a full-time unassigned regular opportunity will be filled. Unassigned full-time regular positions to cover vacancies created by full-time regular city letter carriers who are on the rolls but are not available will be created. The following will be used to determine when an ORNA, on rolls but not available, we'll call it ORNA, assignment needs to be created. A full-time city letter carrier holding a bid position who has no paid work hours for a continuous period of 13 pay periods for approved leave without pay, including but not limited to military LWOP, official union LWOP, limited or light duty, or injury compensation. Or B, a full-time city letter carrier who becomes absent for an extended period and it is likely that the employee will not return to duty for an extended period of time. Okay, so where this really comes into play is if you have like full-time union officers, they're not carrying their route, and so that leaves the office shorthanded. And so with this new agreement, this is all new in this national agreement. This new agreement means that the post office now has to put a body into that station to replace the body that's not there because your union president isn't carrying mail or because somebody's out on deployment and they're going to be gone for, a long time. So that's good. These unassigned regular positions will be created one time only per ORNA carrier. In the event the ORNA carrier returns to work, once the unassigned regular is placed into the first residual vacancy in the position or in the installation, the unassigned regular position will be delimited. I guess that's a different way of saying eliminated. The ORNA assignments created under this agreement will create full-time opportunities as defined above. All right, so I like this. And it makes sense. Like, okay, we hired somebody to take let's say that instead of your local president, because they're going to be replaced, let's say somebody gets a job as a business agent or they're a regional arbitration assistant. So that's a full-time job. They're doing that. But then they decide they're going to run for business agent and they get fired from their RAA position. It does happen, as crazy as that sounds. Now they're back to carrying mail. And so the person who, a position was made because they're gone for a long time. Now that person comes back, they're not going to create a new position. As soon as the person who was filling that role gets their own route, now you don't replace it. which, that makes sense. Part-time flexible city letter carriers who elect reassignment to another installation through item 2 above will receive retreat rights back to their original installation. Oh, that's good. So like if you transfer to, I don't know, Columbus, Ohio, and you're like, dude, this snow is too much. I don't care for all this. You can transfer back to Las Vegas. That's what retreat rights are. Retreat rights will be offered to the first full-time regular opportunity in the original installation that cannot be filled through item 1A above. Oh yeah, they don't just hold your route for you. All right, we're going to hold your route here for a few months to see if you like it. You're essentially transferring back, and you have to take, whatever residual vacancy comes open. Moving on. Prior to converting a part-time flexible city letter carrier to full-time regular status through item 1B above, those carriers with voluntary retreat rights under item 2 must be offered the opportunity to return to their former installation. So at least you do go to the front of the line. The only exception to the requirement to offer voluntary retreat rights is in the case of a part-time flexible city letter carrier in the original installation with more seniority than the employee with the retreat rights. That would be a pretty rare circumstance. In this circumstance, the opportunity is filled through item 1B prior to offering an employee with voluntary retreat rights the opportunity to return to their former installation. City letter carriers who exercise retreat rights under this paragraph will have their craft seniority restored, augmented by time worked in the other facility upon return to the original installation. Failure to accept retreat rights ends the opportunity to retreat back to the original installation. Hey, do you want to come back? No? All right, you ain't coming back. You don't get a second chance. During the term of this agreement, no reassignments in the city letter carrier craft will be made with or between installations or from other crafts unless the reassignment is made pursuant to this agreement, based on mutual exchange, through the Article 12 involuntary reassignment process, or by mutual agreement of the national parties. When full-time regular opportunities may be filled through voluntary reassignment, transfer, the Postal Service shall begin the process of considering requests as soon as practicable, but no later than 14 calendar days after the date the full-time regular opportunity becomes available. So this is where, if you're trying to transfer, you got to keep on top of this, and you may be able to file a grievance. They're like, hey, there is this opening, that an unassigned regular is going to take. Like, there's residual postings, and it's been 14 days. I should be getting this residual posting. And so, you have a grievance that, hey, somebody needs to file this grievance that they should be considering your request once this opening happens, no later than 14 calendar days after the date the full-time regular opportunity becomes available. Employees accepting a voluntary reassignment under this agreement will begin a new period of craft seniority in the gaining installation. So you go to the bottom of the list. Employees converted to full-time regular career status or transferred to an installation may participate in bidding for vacant duty assignments that are posted pursuant to Article 41.1.b of the Collective Bargaining Agreement. If an installation is filling more than one full-time regular opportunity, including at least one residual vacancy, on a date when an employee is being assigned, converted, reassigned, such employee will be allowed to exercise their preference for residual assignments by the use of existing local practices. So this happens like when a CCA converts to a full-time regular. In the installation, there might be 6 different routes that are available for residual, and you are going to just rank those by preference and get, the most senior CCA or PTF, whoever's converting to full-time, gets their first choice, and then the second ranked CCA gets their top choice that's still available, and so on down the line. Employees moving between installations pursuant to the terms of this agreement are solely responsible for any and all costs related to relocation. A former career employee accepted for reinstatement in accordance with the provisions of Section 233.33 of the Handbook EL 312, Employment and Placement, does not count toward the ratio contained in Item 3. A former career employee accepted for reinstatement in an installation which has PTF city letter carriers on the rolls on the date of reinstatement may only be reinstated in a part-time flexible status. So if you come back to the post office, you're going back as a PTF. But hey, it's better than coming back as a CCA. With respect to the ratios outlined in Item 3 above, This agreement is considered a continuation of the May 20th, 2016 memo regarding full-time regular opportunities in the 2019 collective bargaining agreement. This agreement shall be in effect for the duration of the 2023 collective bargaining agreement. Let me see how much is left. There is still a lot left. So we're going to have to make this a 3-parter to get all the way through Article 7. But the good news is there's lots of good content in the meantime. And so you guys get to enjoy that. Lucky you guys. And so that is all I have. Guys, thank you very much for listening. And I will catch you all next time.